Good afternoon and welcome to Football Hotbed's broadcast of the Prep Bowl, the 2019 version of Belen taking on Gulliver Prep. You're watching live here in Pinecrest, Florida, as Don Chaney rushes around the right-hand side, the left-hand side rather. He picks up about 2 yards earlier in this contest. Gulliver got right out of the gate, scoring on the very first drive, Carson Haggart to Jason Brown, and then they moved in for the score. I want to welcome in my broadcast partner, Marcus Benjamin. Marcus, it's an exciting atmosphere for early football, 3:30 p.m. kickoff, but this is going to be an interesting rivalry game. There you see the Gulliver defense showing up number 52, DeRosa. He's a young man that is very talented, a senior, standing about 6'1". He's been doing all the right things to keep this Gulliver defense poised. Of course, there are additions, number 9 particularly, and Donnell Harris, that came over from Booker T. Washington in the offseason. It's going to bring up 2nd down and 10 for Belen. Quarterback is under center, and Marcus, they give it to Mr. Everything, Don Chaney, around the right-hand side, and he delivers the big hit as he runs all the bounds. The Gulliver student section, it meets their applause. How special is Don Chaney? Timeout on the field. Belen wants to talk about this 3rd down. And it is an electric atmosphere even at just before 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Welcome into Football Hotbed's national broadcast of the Prep Bowl. And while we have a break in the action, we want to welcome in everyone who is tuning in from near and far. These are 2 very talented private school programs in the state of Florida. In South Florida particularly, these 2 head coaches, Marcus Benjamin, have steered their programs to success. Well, a big 3rd down here as Gulliver, down 1 touchdown, is trying to convert this 3rd and medium. Quarterback under center, hands off to Chaney. What a surprise. He's around the left-hand side. He's looking for room. He is brought down on the tackle by the freshman, Mr. Brown. We have to see if he gets enough for the first. Check that. That was Antonio Smith on the solo tackle. The flag is going to be on Belen Jesuit, and that's exactly what Belen cannot afford to do to win this game, Marcus Benjamin. It's going to move Belen back. It's going to be 3rd and very, very long. And Belen is going to call another timeout to talk about this. Yeah, first drive, when you score and you're a Gulliver Raider team, you put a ton of pressure. And we talked to Coach Earl Sims earlier in the week, and the reality of the situation is simply this. He teaches discipline and toughness at this Gulliver Raider program. And they have a lot of talent on defense. So now that they are up 7-0 after a wonderful first drive, they are looking to now cause a turnover on defense and really put this struggling Belen offense under a lot of pressure as they face their first offensive drive in a big third down right here. Quarterback under center, that's Dorian Gonzalez. Fullback goes in motion. They like to use him as a tight end. Chaney on the jet sweep. He's around the right-hand side, and no, sir, that's number 4, Travis Lathan, the sophomore linebacker, comes up and makes a huge tackle for Gulliver.
Now Belen was trying to get the corner once again. They got Chaney a couple of times in this game for some big games. They tried to go there again, but unfortunately the contained by Travis Lathan proves to be the difference on that play. As Gulliver takes over.
Proves to be the difference indeed, and the reality of the situation is Belen has to make sure they play mistake-free football, so when they put themselves at a very big disadvantage with a crucial penalty, it can kind of hurt scenarios. And once again, they don't have enough guys who are on the field, but timeout by Gulliver. Gulliver wanted the timeout, incidentally, on that play, and Belen was the team without all of their personnel in. It didn't seem that they knew that Belen was attempting a field goal.
Still very early in the season. These teams are still trying to work out the kinks. Special teams is very important when it comes to winning games. If these teams can get their special teams in order, that could be the difference in this game.
The difference indeed, and we just want to set the atmosphere for this first annual Football Hotbed Prep Bowl. Thanks and welcome to all of those who are joining us all across the World Wide Web to these very two historic Miami prep school programs. The Prep Bowl, of course, is indicative of not only football. These are two of the very best academic football programs in all of South Florida. Here's the field goal attempt here. It's up. And it is good. Number 85, Brenton Rice, the kicker, the senior, connects on the field goal to get Belen on the scoreboard.
Rice definitely got all of that kick. He was aided a little bit about with the wind out here, but great way to end their first drive, then with points on the board.
Yeah, Eddie Delgado, head coach of Belen, said, hey, I'm going to go to my kicker. He's got the benefit of soon-to-be hurricane force winds. Some of the outer bands kind of influencing the weather here. Even though it's a wonderful sunny day, you wouldn't know there's a Category 4 hurricane creeping around in the Atlantic. But why not take advantage and get 3 points for your team? And they did just that. So the early score in the first quarter with 4:36 remaining, Gulliver is on top of Belen 7-3. Now, Marcus Benjamin, let's go through some of the key players in this game. Let's start with the receiving team right now, the Gulliver Raiders.
Well, Gulliver has plenty of playmakers on their squad. We talked about Donnell Harris, Wesley Neal. Those are some of the playmakers on defense. Unfortunately, we have 2 players missing. We've got Keith Brown, not available in this game.
Yes, there are a lot of players, Marcus, and we're working on some technical issues with your microphone, but there are a lot of players who are impactful on both sides of the ball. It starts on offense with Carson Haggart and number 8, Amin Hassan. One of the biggest impact players there is you see a bobble by the freshman, Jalen Brown. He's the track star. He gets around the right-hand side. That's going to bring up a flag on the play. Keith Brown is nursing a hand injury, and he's unable to play in this prep bowl, this inaugural prep bowl. So he will be on the sidelines this afternoon. But there is no shortage of talent from the Gulliver Raiders, and they will be fully on display, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Gulliver will start moving from right to left on your camera, and they pick up an additional 15 yards, it looks like, on a personal foul call here. And this is exactly what we talked about at the outset, as I think we're going to be able to welcome Marcus back into the broadcast. And I've been throwing to him, but you have not been able to hear him. He's had some great commentary, but Marcus, these are the kind of fouls, I'll go to you in just a second, these are the kind of fouls that Belen can ill afford. The handoff is to number 14 for Gulliver. He takes it around the right-hand side. That is, of course, one of their running backs, and we don't have him on our roster. But this is an individual, Marcus, that it looks like Cedric Irvin, by the way he's walking. It looked like Cedric Irvin Jr., the young man whose father's a head football coach at Southridge, on the run around the right-hand side. But this is a situation where this kind of rivalry matchup, you're seeing a lot of flags early, particularly around personal fouls and these types of things. You tend to see this in rivalry matchups, Marcus.
You definitely do see those type of situations in these type of games. There's going to be some emotion in these type of games, and the task for these coaches is really channeling those emotions into positive plays for your team.
Yeah, and Belen is going in the opposite direction of positive once again. Looks like another personal foul, 15-yard foul, thanks to our statistician, Mr. Ernest LeCount, who's joining us on the broadcast today. And there is just an interesting setting for this game, Marcus. Got a Category 4 hurricane. There are preparations being made. Even right next door to us, there are tarps being taken down on the softball field here at Gulliver. But playing football in South Florida nevertheless.
Yeah, this was a game that was actually moved twice, but happy to have it today here on Friday afternoon.
Carson Haggart, the quarterback for Gulliver, tucks the football, and he picks up big yards, and yet again another flag coming out on the play as he tried to protect himself and slide, and you cannot hit a quarterback who is trying to slide down and protect himself. And I want to tell you that the Gulliver student section is one of the most incredible student sections. This is a whiteout crowd here today. That is the promotion for the school. This is a very important game to both of these teams. And when you think about the storied history of this rivalry, for many years, Gulliver had not won a game. They finally won the last matchup, but that's been several years. They're going to play regularly moving forward, Marcus Benjamin.
Well, it's awesome that you have a rivalry like this continue. It's great to have two teams like this that are very, very similar in size. Two prep schools in the South Miami area. So it's great to have this rivalry continue for years to come.
Anton Hall, the running back, committed to Navy with a nice run on the play. And it is a scenario where he's one of the most talented players on this team. And Gulliver is absolutely rolling on this drive.
Yeah, you got to love what you see on tape from Hassan. He is just an electric player once he gets the football in his hands. Look for Gulliver to get to him more.
The pitch to Hall again, and looks like a horse collar tackle. That's going to elicit even another flag. Just some very undisciplined play here by Belen as they try to get things together. I know Coach Eddie Delgado is going to have a lot to say about that at the next break. But the reality of the situation is simply this. When you come into a matchup against so much talent from the Gulliver Raiders, you've got to be mistake-free and play mistake-free football.
Absolutely. If Belen has any chance at all to win this game, they have to eliminate the penalties and the mental mistakes. Hopefully they can, stop that moving forward so we can have a competitive game this afternoon.
Well, they're backed up in a quarter here. They're backed up It's 1st and goal for the Gulliver Raiders going into the far end zone. The ball is on the 2-yard line. Anton Hall is the running back. He gets the give along the left-hand side and runs behind that offensive line. The indication is touchdown for Belen. And Mr. Hall, hey man, this kid is going to Navy for a reason. He's fast and he's physical, and he's a load to bring down.
He definitely is, and you saw that on that play. It looks like he was stopped at the goal line, but he was able to muscle his way over the goal line for the Gulliver Raiders' 2nd score of the game. Can't start this game any better than with 2 drives and 2 touchdowns.
2 drives, 2 touchdowns for Gulliver. If you're just tuning in, with 2:22 left, they're going up here. It appears after a Will Bettridge extra point attempt is up, and it is good. Bettridge, the veteran sophomore place kicker who's being recruited by every school in the country, it seems, gives Belen Jesuit a 14-3 lead. And Marcus, let's go into just how dominant gives Gulliver Prep rather a 14-3 lead. Let's go into how dominant Gulliver has been early in this football contest.
Well, Gulliver has really showed a lot of balance in this game. They're mixing up with the run and the pass, really leaving nothing to be left on the field with these 2 drives. They've been giving it their all, and you can see it with the 2 scores that they have on the scoreboard.
Just an electric atmosphere. It doesn't matter how small the field is. It's just about the passion for the fans, and you definitely see that in this student section. One of the traditions here at Gulliver is when there's a score, they start spraying baby powder all over the place. I have to figure out exactly what that's all about, but, it's a prep ball tradition, and so we can't wait for many other years. But 14-3 is your score, 2:22 left in the first quarter here in Pinecrest, Florida. Will Bettridge's kick, end over end, is being brought out of the end zone by Belen, and he's found a little bit of daylight. Fairly good run back by number 3. That's Francisco Aguirre, and he is one of the individuals that you talked about in our pre-production meeting, that he's one of the guys that want to try to get the ball in his hands.
Definitely Aguero is one of those players besides Chaney that needs to get going in this game. Chaney's a great player. We all know that. He's a 5-star recruit, but they're going to need some other guys to really compete against Gulliver in this game, and Aguero is one of those guys.
Dorian Gonzalez under center. Wow, another flag. That might be about the 10th flag, no exaggeration, in this early contest.
There have been a lot of laundry on the field. Hopefully we can clean this up as this game continues.
Looks like a false start against Belen. That'll push him back 5 yards, 1st and 15. Gonna attempt a pass here with something you rarely seen. A man wide open, and Dorian Gonzalez just missed Sebastian Alonso. That's the tight end that they use from time to time. They had the player wide open. He seeped into the backfield and he got out in the open. He just couldn't come down with the catch.
Dorian Gonzalez is one of those players that can make plays with his feet, and you saw it on that play there where he rolls out to his right and try to find the receiver over the middle. That's something that I expect to see more from the Wolverines, getting Gonzalez outside of the pocket to make some plays.
It's interesting, as you mentioned, that Belen is going to be tasked with figuring out how to give the ball to someone other than Don Chaney Jr., the Miami Hurricane commit, and they're going to work it between Francisco Aguirre, who just carried the ball there for a few, on the ground, and they're going to try to mix it up between the quarterback, Gonzalez, and they just took a big hit to Sebastian Alonso, and that's the kind of thing you got to hit if you're trying to pull off an upset, especially on the road. So I say they'll probably come back to that play because it was there, Marcus Benjamin.
It definitely was there, and it should be there in the future with the play-action pass.
Gonzalez under center. He's going to pass again, and that pass is going to be intercepted. What an incredible play. Gabriel Taylor, the little brother of Sean Taylor, who, of course, is a Gulliver alumni and has been given posthumously so many awards. Younger brother making him proud, coming up with a big interception, and Gulliver applying even more pressure right now, Marcus Benjamin, with a great defensive stop.
Definitely just like his brother Sean Taylor. That was an amazing diving play by his little brother. I mean, we'll just expect to see more from him in the future. And that is just a back-breaking play for Belen, who's trying to get something going, trying to get back to the play-action pass. But unfortunately, the big play by Taylor shuts down that drive.
Excellent diving interception, and that's going to give Carson Haggart and the Raiders another opportunity to continue to apply pressure. Snap is given, and the ball goes to number 14, Cedric Irvin Jr., and as I suspected earlier, by just the makeup of the young man, we did have media day here, that Irvin was the young man wearing number 14. He, of course, is starting in place of Keith Brown, the do-everything running back for this Gulliver program, who's nursing a hand injury and is not playing in today's contest. But so far, they're not missing him, Marcus Benjamin, because it's a scenario where they're scored on every possession. Haggart just throws the ball just outside of the hands of Amin Hassan. But, man, so much pressure being applied by this Gulliver offense. It's high-powered and power-packed.
Absolutely, and you touched a little bit about Cedric Irvin, and he made some plays on that first drive to help with that first score. He's definitely a worthy replacement to Keith Brown. Keith Brown is one of the better players here in the state.
He recruited by everybody as a 2021 athlete, and for Cedric, hey, listen, his dad's a football coach, the head coach at South Ridge, so no surprise to me that he's ready and getting additional playing time, and he's making the most of it here. It's a big rush of being applied, but Haggart is able to attempt the ball down the field on third down. The pass is incomplete.
Looks like we got a roughing the passer penalty against Belen.
Wow, another penalty. Just been a very difficult first quarter really, for Belen with penalties.
Absolutely, and that is going to kill them if that continues to happen. That needs to get cleaned up if they're going to have a chance in this game.
The pass, of course, was intended for Antonio Brown, the wide receiver, defensive back for the Raiders. That's going to bring up an automatic first down, and that's the kind of thing you want to try to avoid on third and long if you're Belen Jesuit.
Absolutely. You don't want to give the Raiders any first downs that they have not earned.
Anton Hall back into the backfield for Gulliver. They fake to Hall, fire out to Amin Hassan. He's trying to get away from the defender.
Those are some of the things that Belen has to do. They have to bottle up playmakers like Hassan, who, if he got loose on that play, he was going to the end zone for Gulliver's third score.
Yeah, credit A.J. Balacera with the very sure tackle on the outside boundary. Actually, I think it was Zachary Acosta, number 45, on that tackle. But that's the end of the first quarter here of action. And Marcus Benjamin, it's power-packed. You had a Gulliver team that scored on each one of their possessions in the first quarter. Belen able to muster on their first drive a field goal, and it was a very solid field goal by number 85, Brenton Rice. But they trail. What do they have to do to get back into this game?
Well, Belen has to just stop the bleeding here. They have to stop beating themselves with penalties, and they have to contain on the outside with Gulliver's running back. So if you contain there and just play tough on one-on-one matchups in the air, Gulliver's looking to exploit those one-on-one matchups. Just play tough and, you know, try to knock the ball away. And as long as they stop making mistakes, they should inch back closer to getting this game.
Let's get to Belen and talk about them on the defensive side of the ball. You were able to see them against Christopher Columbus on last week in the opening game. What do they bring to the table on defense, and who stands out to you?
Well, first and foremost, you definitely have to locate their safety, who is Sean-Luc Bobin. He had an interception last week against Columbus, so you always have to kind of locate where he is. He's kind of in the middle of that defensive backfield. And then also on defense, Mark Edward Trapp, the senior, along with Joshua Sloan, are some players that will be going to the football at high velocity. So you always got to account for those guys as well.
Start of the second quarter here at Gulliver Field. Carson Haggart handing off to Anton Hall, and Hall delivering a blow. Oh my goodness. A very big first down play.
Hall coming with the wood there on the play. You have to earn a tackle against him in this game.
He's such a big and bruising back. He's going to fit right into the system at Navy, where he's a commit in addition to number 8, the wide receiver, Amin Hassan. Haggart looking to the sideline, trying to get the signal. They're checking at the line. The center is Brandon Banna. The give is to Hall again. He's still bouncing off tacklers. But credit this Belen Jesuit defense for bottling him up. They were led by number 4, Nicholas Gonzalez.
That's a big stop for this Belen Jesuit defense to force a fourth down here when pretty much they've been unstoppable for this entire game. So we'll see if Gulliver goes for it here on fourth down, or, you know, they kick the field goal to add to their lead. And it looks like they are going to actually go.
They're going to go for it on fourth down, and they feel like, hey, we haven't been stopped all game, so why start now trying to play conservative? The give is to Hall, and whoa, wait a minute. He's going in the opposite direction. Number 17 for Belen in on the tackle, Jacob Lazo. Excellent job by the middle linebacker plugging the hole and making Hall go the opposite direction.
See, these are the type of plays that can shift momentum for a football team. You get a turnover on downs in the red zone. I just alluded to about containing the outside, and that's exactly what they did on that play. They contained the runner from getting to the outside. They were able to make the stop, and now the Wolverines start from their own, looks like 8-yard line.
They're going to start from the 8-yard line. Pablo Carrera is the center. He's been on football hotbed showcase platforms in the past for Belen, and he is one of the talents up front and tries to get the running game going for Belen Jesuit and make room for the superstar 5-star running back Donald Chaney Jr. Marcus Benjamin, both of these schools' student sections have kind of collected here. School kind of let out a little bit early today, and these guys are ready to go back and forth. As the give is to Chaney, and he gets absolutely nothing. Meet number 99, Wesley Neal. This is a young man that has Power 5 offers all over the place.
Yes, Wesley Neal is one of those big guys in the middle of that defensive line for the Gulliver Raiders. He is a player that will be sought after by many of Power 5 schools. So if they are trying to get some yardage against Gulliver, you might want to run away from Big 99.
Yeah, 99 is not one of the guys you want to square up with But that's one of the matchup issues. You're going to see Carrera in 99, not to mention the other 9, Donnell Harris, who came over in the offseason, and he makes this Gulliver defensive line, as you see him breaking through as the play was called by the referees. There's going to be an offside penalty. Maybe he broke through too fast, Marcus Benjamin, but this is a defensive line for Gulliver that's very formidable.
Absolutely, but they do have to limit those mistakes. Just like Belen needs to limit their mistakes on their side, they can't give yards away to the Wolverines.
It's going to bring up second down. We're going to call it 6 yards to go for Belen. Coincidentally, this is probably the closest to being on schedule that Belen has been in this football game, and by that I mean in an effort to get a first down, keeping the chains at a manageable distance. Gonzalez keeps it himself. Nice run. Brought down by number 4. That's Lathan, the two-way player, but excellent run by Dorian Gonzalez for Belen.
Dorian Gonzalez shows how much of an athlete he is, and he's actually also a baseball player. He's a commit to the University of Miami. So the Wolverines are actually playing with 2 Miami commits, 1 at quarterback and 1 at running back, and 1 for football and 1 for baseball.
Gonzalez is a very talented baseball player. The Miami Hurricane baseball program is prolific, so you know this young man's an athlete. The give is to the up man, and he gets a lot of yardage, and that's exactly what you want to do if you are Belen. Get the game and the offense working and start spreading the ball around in this single wing offense. Antonio Castanado got the give and picked up a lot of yardage.
Definitely a lot of yards on that play. We'll see where the penalty
gets. Pick up even more additional yards, and now it seems as if the team on defense is the team that gets the penalty bug.
Looks like the tide has definitely shifted in this game. Belen is actually starting to do what Belen does, just power football with the running game. You see the running game working there with the fullback and the quarterback in the last 2 plays. The penalty adding pushes the ball forward over into Gulliver territory.
Don Chaney around the left-hand side, and see, this is what can happen. You start to open your offense, you start to limit your turnovers, you start to play disciplined football, then all of a sudden, what your offense is designed to do, which is to gash and gain 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's all they want. They want to stay ahead of schedule. And you talked to head coach before the game. What were his keys to the game?
Well, he said that he wanted to get some of his other playmakers going and wait for the opportunities of exactly what they're doing on this drive.
The up back gets the ball again. He was completely stopped by the Gulliver defense. That's number 50, Bakari Edwards. If
you're Belen, you just kind of want to keep going with this drive here and kind of pick your spots with the passing game. Now would probably be a good time to hit him with the play action pass and hit him over the middle.
Well, it's a good time to pick up a first down. They got about 3rd and 3. They're going to give it to Chaney, and he just keeps looking and finding and picking up the first down. There's a reason he's committed to the University of Miami, one of the best programs in the country.
Well, when you have Don Chaney Jr., who needs the passing game, and let him do the work.
But he can't be all of your offense, and I think that's why you're seeing so much success on this drive, Marcus Benjamin, because the reality of the situation is he's finding him out in this offense.
That he definitely is, but when you do need a few yards, you definitely have to go to your horse for him to get you those tough yards, to get you a first down.
1st and 10 for Belen. They fake to Chaney. He now becomes the decoy that you want him to be. The give is to Puente.
Looks like it's going to be an unnecessary roughness call against Gulliver. Just a little bit too much extracurricular activity there, and the ref throws a flag. So this is going to push Belen even further towards the goal line.
The atmosphere has really picked up here as now it seems like school has finally let out and many of the Belen Jesuit students have made the 20-minute trek over and gotten in the bleachers, the visiting bleachers here, and they are now revving up their team. And you see some offensive schematic complexity from Belen, and it's leading them all the way down the field. Remember, this drive line for Belen Jesuit, and they're now marching in, trying to get their first offensive score of the ball game. The give is a fake to Chaney. Gonzalez keeps it himself. The quarterback much brought down by number 44 for Gulliver, Jonathan Fine.
If you're the Wolverines, you got to cash in on this drive. You started at the 8-yard line. You down to their red zone. You got to cash in with a touchdown here to keep this game competitive.
Belen coming to the line, and Gonzalez has been doing a pretty fair job of managing this offense. A flag again. Well, that from Gulliver, and they want to slow things down right now because it looks like Belen kind of found something that they're working on.
That might be a smart move because Belen is obviously in rhythm. They're just doing what they do with the running game, churning, moving, getting the ball closer to the goal line. So probably a smart move by Gulliver to take a timeout to stop the momentum.
As they take a timeout, let's take a timeout and just talk about this Gulliver team. 1-0 on the season. They won last week their opening game against Coral Gables. There are renewed expectations for Coach Earl Sims, 14 years here at the Gulliver program, and he's a guy that wants to come in, and he feels as if they have enough talent this year to make a run in Florida 4A. And the reason is because you got a lot of guys who've been in this program a long time.
They do definitely have a chance to make a run in 4A. 4A is definitely wide open with the great teams that are in 4A. I expect them to win the majority of their games during the season. The playoffs in 4A will be must-see TV once we get there in November.
The give is up the middle. The fullback, Hayden Puente, doesn't find much. It's going to bring up 3rd down and goal.
It's going to be an interesting call here on 3rd down for the Wolverines.
Tackle made by Kareem Wilson.
Coming to the end of the first half here, you definitely want to get points on the board. Let's see what they call here on 3rd down.
Third down, Wilson under center. Gonzalez rather under center. The give is to Chaney. Surprise there.
They went to their bread and butter, Chaney, for the corner once again, but unfortunately, he falls short of the goal line, which gives the Wolverines a 4th down.
This is Sarah, sorry, Marcus, on the tackle there for Gulliver. That's going to bring up a pretty key decision here. Do you go for it or kick here, Marcus?
I say kick the field goal because you can make it basically a 1-score game if you kick the field goal here. If you don't get points, it's going to be backbreaking to your team. But it looks like they're going to go for it on 4th down.
Chaney around the left-hand side, and he gets in with pretty much ease. But let's talk about the anatomy of that drive. That all started because, as you talked about at the outset of this broadcast, Belen was able to mix up who they give the ball to, and it led to getting this offense going.
Chaney is one of those players that just needs to kind of get going, get in rhythm, get the football, and eventually he's going to break one. As you saw on the last 2 plays, they gave it to him, which was basically the same play to the left side. The power of Chaney won, and the Wolverines have their touchdown an inch closer to the Gulliver Raiders on the scoreboard.
Here's the extra point. It's up, and it looks like it's no good. Wide left. Britton Rice's kick. He was the beneficiary of the win earlier on the opposite side of the field. It kind of came back to bite him, kicking into the win for the extra point, a critical extra point, because now it's 14-9.
Yeah, unfortunate to get the extra point, but the important thing is for the Wolverines is that they got into the end zone and were able to score 6. Not only that helps them on the scoreboard, but that helps your team mentally. If you're able to get over the goal line, you feel like you can do that again. Hopefully we can see more of that from the Wolverines for us to see a competitive game here on Gulliver's Field.
Absolutely. Well, 3:26 left in this first half of play. Just an absolutely wonderful game day here in Pinecrest, Florida. 88 degrees, and even with the Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic, this is sort of the calm before the storm. Miami-Dade County, coincidentally, had canceled a lot of the games that were taking place on this evening, Marcus Benjamin, but they reconsidered later, and they're going to play football this evening. But this game is the biggest game on the slate of the early afternoon.
This is definitely the biggest game in the afternoon slot. I'm definitely glad that we are going to play football games tonight on Friday night because it's better to get these games in now than to rather have them rescheduled at a later date. Looks like Dorian probably won't hit us maybe until Monday or Tuesday of next week. So I'm definitely glad that we have football going on tonight.
Nice surprise onside kick by Belen, and did not work.
Like that, if you're Belen.
Got to take some chances indeed, but Coach Eddie Delgado knows, you know, in a situation like this, he's a little bit behind the 8 ball from a talent perspective. Not to say that his 8A team is not talented. They do have a lot of talent, but when you have so many guys that are at the Power 5 level and the Division I level for Gulliver, you are a little bit challenged in that area, and he tried to sneak one through there, came up just a little bit short. But I got to like the moxie of that call. Carson Haggart, for his 4th offensive series, takes the shotgun slap. He's looking down the field for Amin Hassan, who's chokehold by the defender, number 27, Alex Fernandez. Wanted to give him a hug. Unfortunately, that's not allowed.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to cause a flag every time. The defender really just kind of got desperate in that situation, saw that he was beat, and it's better to commit a penalty than to get beat for a touchdown.
Give Gulliver an automatic first down, and Amin Hassan, this is a young, electric wide receiver, and he'd probably get a hug from me too if I were defending him. Last week against Coral Gables, he took a bubble screen all the way to a house. He's absolutely electric. Committed to Navy as a senior. He's been in this Gulliver program since middle school, and he is one of the best that they have. Haggart takes the shotgun slap again. He's on the run. The ball was fumbled. It came out. It looks like Gulliver got back on top of it. But, oh, my goodness, that Gulliver pass rush, that Belen pass rush, rather, led by number 17, Jacob Lazo. We've called his name before. It was formidable on that down.
Great play by Lazo, but if you're Belen, you have to take advantage of those opportunities. Ball's on the ground, you got to jump on it if you're Belen Jesuit. Those are the opportunities that you might not see in the future of this game. They're going to be kicking themselves later for not jumping on that football.
Well, disaster avoided for Gulliver, but it's going to bring down 2nd down and long. Haggart going deep to Hall, and rather to Ulysses Sarah. He didn't quite have his head turned around. That's going to bring up 3rd and long for the Raiders.
Nathaniel Payne should have probably located that ball and came down with the interception, but unfortunately he wasn't able to locate it. But I do expect him to locate those type of balls in the future of this game. Look out for him to make some big plays on that defense.
Yeah, it looked like Payne was just absolutely surprised that the ball was coming his way, and he forgot that he was playing defense, that he probably should have just went over there and grabbed it, and he would have had a lot of room to run because he was all by himself.
Definitely would have took it the distance.
So that's going to bring 3rd and long for Gulliver. Cedric Irvin in motion on the outside. He gets the bubble screen. He's got a little bit of room. He's still on his feet. My goodness, Cedric Irvin Jr. is fired up and ready.
You have playmakers like Gulliver does, you have to get them the ball in space. And that's what the Raiders did on that play. They were able to get the ball over to Irvin. Irvin does the rest for a big gain for the Gulliver Raiders.
Cedric Irvin just very impressed by his play early. He gets the ball again here. It's no surprise the bloodlines. His cousin Timothy Irvin Jr. was a big-time player here in South Florida, played for Richmond P. Ryan, and went on to high school, have a great career, and then went to Auburn, and now he's at East Carolina finishing up his career. Just the bloodlines, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of bloodlines in this game. You already talked about Irving and Taylor. You know, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Sr. Don Chaney Sr. here in South Florida. The bloodline runs long, and we're seeing that in this game.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about South Florida football, particularly at the high school level. You keep watching it long enough, you'll see things like brothers playing after big brothers who were stars. Gabe Taylor, after his late brother Sean Taylor, making a big interception. Way to play homage to his older brother who played right here at Gulliver, and the stadium, this field, this Memorial Field, is named after his memory. It's going to be a timeout on the field by Belen. They want to talk about it. Coach Delgado says this is a good time to work out some kinks here because he wants to try to stop another score before going in at the half.
This is a key moment in this game before the half. Gulliver has a chance to extend it to either an 8-point game, which is still a 1-score game if they get a field goal, or make it a 2-score game with a touchdown, which is sometimes the difference between winning and losing. So we'll see what both teams do here in the red zone.
Just 1 minute and 27 seconds left before the half. Been a very exciting game so far.
Yeah,
first
so
half
far.
Action. Marcus, what were some of the highlights up to this point?
Cedric Irvin on that first drive, he definitely really kind of set the tone with his speed, catching the ball out of the backfield and also running from the backfield. Those are some of the highlights for me, and definitely the interception by Gabe Taylor was great to see. Definitely know that Sean Taylor smiled down on this field when he saw that play.
First down play, Haggart. Nice pass out to Lathan. Travis Lathan, he's playing both ways. He's doing an excellent.
Time is ticking to just under a minute, so these next couple of plays will be critical for both teams.
Second and short here. Carson Haggart in the backfield. Amin Hassan in motion. Haggart waggles left. He sees nothing, and then he gets tackled. Brought down by number 4, Nicholas Gonzalez.
Although Haggart takes the sack on that play, the football, which almost resulted in a catastrophic turnover. This time he covered up the football, still giving his team a chance for points before the half.
Coach Earl Sims had to call time out there, and the reality is he wants to give himself the opportunity to get the 3 points out of this deal. He should get a chance to at least attempt a field goal because you've got number 17, Will Bettridge, sitting on the sidelines just ready to punch one in. And from this distance, it's almost a gimme.
That would be a chip shot from Bettridge. Bettridge was our top performer at our specialist camp earlier this year. This should be an easy one if he's called out to make the kick.
But they don't want 3 points. They want 7 points here. So here's a critical third down play. Haggart in the shotgun, trips to the right, bottom of your screen. He motions that way. He sees a sign, and he gets him with the strike. Touchdown.
Scores on this touchdown. We do have some whistles on the field here. Looks like the refs are sorting things out. But Hassan is definitely one of the big playmakers in this game. And let's see what the refs are saying here. Looks like it could be against.
That's going to be a personal foul
Gulliver.
Penalty on Amin Hassan. He kind of made a gesture there in the end zone. He's excited. I mean, I get it, but
that's excessive celebration.
It's one of those situations where, yeah, that's not permitted in Florida high school football. Bettridge, the aforementioned Bettridge, on for the extra point. It's up and it's good. Gets backed up, and Will Bettridge is keen enough to carry that in. And man, Gulliver, 21 first half points. And, hey, it's not over yet, man. They might score again, Marcus.
It's definitely not over yet, but you got to be impressed. The run and the pass. Carson had the one snafu with the
I'm telling you, this section here, the whiteout section, down, but it's a different day, and it's when you come to a game day atmosphere here, it's absolutely incredibly loud because the canopy traps all the noise. It just so happens, Marcus Benjamin, as you know, when a hurricane is on its way and we have one in the Atlantic, you take all those canopies off.
Definitely got to take precautions with the hurricane out in the Atlantic, but you got to love the crowd here. Even though it could be louder, they're still pretty loud, and you got to love what you see from the whiteout crowd here.
This game was set for tomorrow night at Tropical Field. Supposed to be under the lights. It was adjusted up to today here at Gulliver as Will Bettridge's kick is filled by Donald Chaney Jr., and Chaney's finding some room around. And there is a flag on the play. Surprise, surprise. There's been a lot of flags and penalties. We're up to about 15 or so in this first half, Marcus.
Yeah, this is going to be a holding penalty on number 54, Victor Rivera. He practically just tackled one of the Gulliver players.
Line, and they're on the 10 in the previous drive and were able to go down and score, but this time they've got only 28 seconds to do it with. And I gotta say, I am impressed by the quarterback, Dorian Gonzalez, the Miami commit for baseball, has shown his prowess in football, and he's an athlete.
He's definitely an athlete that can do it with his arm and his legs. Let's see what he does here.
The give is up to the up man, number 34. And see, that's a good Hayden Puente run, but you test the Gulliver defensive line early to see if they're looking for the pass. And if you can gash them, you can set yourself up to have a good series. So it's just a tester in this wing T offense that they're running, but it did not net more than about 5 yards. Timeout by Belen. Coach Eddie Delgado wants to preserve the time on the clock. What do they have to do to at least get into scoring position for a field goal? They have had a field goal earlier today by Britton Rice, but they're probably going to be going against the wind, Marcus Benjamin, this time around.
Or Nick Brochek.
Yeah, Sebastian Alonso, he was the young man that ran pretty wide open earlier in this contest. That play was wide open, but the give is to Chaney, and he's going to be able to get out of bounds, preserving the clock, and also very big chunk offense for Belen, so they got to hope that they can gash for a big run here before time expires in this first half.
You hit it right on the head, Brandon O'Doy. This is not a team that is built to really come back with their passing game, so they can't afford to fall any further on the scoreboard.
The give is to Chaney, and they seem content to just go in. Well, it looks as if they had exceeded their timeout quota, and that's going to be the first half. Marcus Benjamin, take us through the first half with a 21-9 lead.
Travis Lathan is one of the playmakers along with Amin Hassan. Passing it to those guys has really been effective for the Raiders. Of course, with Keith Brown out, you've got Anton Hall. Raider quarterback.
Absolutely. So, gonna go to the half. Have a lot of content about this home Gulliver Raider program, and this is a tremendous program here in Miami, Florida, the Pinecrest area. An excellent campus, an incredible education, and just truly first rate. Want to get to know some of the individuals that make Gulliver what they are. We talked to several people during Media Day earlier this week, and we want to get you an opportunity to go inside on the Gulliver Raider program. in the game, but you know, they've had some very good, successful operational things happen on that defense, and Wesley Neal was a big part of that. Talk about the young man who's being recruited by Rutgers and Indiana. Wesley Neal, Donnell Harris on defense, measured in with Mr. Latham. Number 4, Travis Latham, he's a guy that has got it done on both sides of the ball. He caught a pass for a big game earlier in this game and also made several key tackles. Gabe Taylor had a big interception in the first half. And so as we wait to get the statistics, we want to bring you those. They're doing some fun things here on the field. They got a lot of games and other things playing. This is truly a wonderful facility, a wonderful preparatory school, as we should say, in the Prep Bowl. So there are a lot of great things going around. It's a very family atmosphere here. Kids still have their school uniforms on, and of course it's private school, so all of the things that go along with that. But what does Belen Jesuit have to do to get back into this football game?
They have to put some pressure on Carson Haggart, the Gulliver quarterback, in order to get into this game. They have to keep doing what the Wolverines do, which is basically run the football like they do, find their openings, but they have to run it with different guys, not just Don Chaney Jr. Some of these other players have to also run the ball in order to open up the passing game. Now, the passing game has been open in this game. We've seen receivers flying open, but Dorian Gonzalez hasn't had the time to really find those receivers with the pressure put on by the Raider defense. So those are some of the keys for Wolverine success in this second half.
Well, they're going to have to come out and be a little bit more multifaceted like they were on that second drive, the drive where they scored. But one big thing that they definitely have to do, Belen, to get back into this, they've got to limit turnovers.
They definitely have to limit the turnovers. Mistakes are critical in a football game. So you want to eliminate the turnovers and the penalties with your squad. If you're able to keep those down, you always have a chance.
Yeah, you're going to always have a chance, and they've got to give themselves that chance. We got 10 minutes remaining in the half here. We're going to take a break, but we will be back at the start of the third quarter. Your score at the half, Gulliver Prep 21, Belen Jesuit Prep 9.
No, you don't really have to record. You don't have to record. Just leave it on. That's fine. Just leave the thing on. It's beautiful, man. I mean, it's nice because I'm thinking how they can see that where. Where they can see this? In their website? On YouTube. YouTube, but that's the name of the website? Yeah. I told my mom to watch this stuff. Okay, cool. Because then I didn't want to do this kind of thing.
You hear most guys doing play-by-play, they're talking kind of fast.
I'm not gonna be there to steal. Like I cannot be late because if I'm late, I lose it. I'm gonna try to reconfigure it again now.
Can you log into the site? I need to post it.
Because obviously everything I had, that I just had to press a button.
So the 30p was the issue. Like putting it 60.
Which mic are you using? This one? 6 minutes left till we're back to the third quarter. The score is 20, into the score.
6 minutes left until we start the second half here. Gulliver is up 21-9 on Belen Jesuit.
14 was one. The first one was 14, right? No, 14 was one. So that's when we were like, right. The second one was the second one.
Computer slows my head.
Oh yeah, it was 5. It was 5.
It has to be something here because my phone is super slow right now.
And then
Oh,
it
we
was
gotta
8.
have a
It
backup.
was 8 over here. Okay. And then Chaney was the other one. All right.
Always back up. It was field goal.
Yeah.
You have a picture of Belen?
No, it's not. I know these. It's not smooth enough. Like this ain't. It's not like this. No, don't worry about it. It's smoother in my hand. Thank you, though.
You have to go to Facebook for that. I never posted anything on Gulliver. It's actually the first game I've ever covered. Yeah. Got Belen, though. That's been happening. I mean, that's the only way. What do you need to do? Feature it.
Video. No, video. We are back live here. All right, welcome back. Live action. Start of the third quarter. Gulliver Prep kicking off to Belen, and Will Bettridge, the stud sophomore kicker, kicks it out of the end zone for a touchback. Gulliver up 21-9. Start of the third quarter. Take us through the first quarter, Marcus Benjamin, and give us a quick recap of what happened.
Well, in the first quarter, Gulliver drove down the field and scored with Cedric Irvin. Second time was Hall going in for the score, and then Amin Hassan scored for the third time for the Raiders.
3 drives, 3 scores for the Gulliver Raiders in that first half. Belen had a very impressive drive capped off by their 5-star running back, Don Chaney. He's in the backfield again as they start the third quarter. He'll get the ball, but he fumbles and is picked up by Gulliver. What a play by number 50, Bakari Edwards, and he's had quite a game. He made a big tackle early in the day, and that is a back-breaking fumble by your 5-star running back.
That is exactly how you do not want to start the game in the second half. You're Belen Jesuit. Your 5-star guy fumbles the ball. Great start for Gulliver, however, with a golden opportunity for them to put some more points on the board here in the second half.
So that's going to be first and down for Gulliver Prep. First and goal, rather. The 7-yard line. Wow. What an electric way to start the second half if you're a Raider You're excited about this. They're going to come out in their jumbo formation.
They've got Wesley Neal at the end.
Looks like they have number 52, DeRosa, as the fullback in that package. It was him. The give was to Hall. Doesn't get much there, but good grief.
They've got some
rough
guys.
break for Belen.
That is a rough break for the Wolverines, unfortunately. Not how you want to start the second half, but the Raiders have an opportunity to go up with another score here.
Lights out football. Save the one drive where they were just penalty ridden and they kind of were moving backwards. This Coach Lourdes' defense for the Raiders has been really on point, and now offensive coordinator Eddie Alford gets an opportunity to pick up his 4th score of the football game. Haggart motioning out to Latham. They throw back across the field, looking for the freshman, or rather number 12, Jalen Brown. Yes, that is the freshman, the speedy freshman, who was not able to hang on. But that's kind of a tough pass, dropping to your ground, Marcus Benjamin.
Yeah, you're hoping that ball is a little bit higher, but Nate Payne does make the play to prevent that touchdown from being made. Big third down coming up here for the Raiders.
Tell you what, this Haggart kid is about as shifty and able to move outside of the pocket as anybody I've seen. We've seen this before from him. He can really throw the football, and he's got 4 wide on this one, motioning Hall in to motion, and he look at him, he just slippery. That should have been a sack, but he found a way to pick up a few yards. It's probably going to lead to a Will Bettridge field goal attempt. But this is just a guy that is able to athletically move around in the pocket and kind of try to make something out of nothing when the line breaks down.
He definitely has great feet, and fortunately, this is actually a win for Belen Jesuit to stop them with the critical drive here to score a touchdown. Stopping them for a field goal here is definitely a win for the Wolverines.
Yeah, Marcus, but you can't get too many more of these points away when you're trailing 21-9. And Will Bettridge is pretty much a gimme at the field goal. Anything inside of 30 yards, you can pretty much put the points on the board. That's going to bring the score to 24-9 for Gulliver. And this is a scenario where, you know, everything's rolling for Coach Earl Sims and the Gulliver Raiders.
Yeah, you definitely want to put a touchdown on the board in that situation, but you can't really ask for a better scenario with pouncing on the turnover and getting some more points on the scoreboard.
Those are kind of free points, Marcus Benjamin, because you kick the ball off. You're not supposed to have the possession. You get a fumble by the other team's best player on the first play, really, of the second half, and then you're able to get points out of it. But, yeah, you definitely want 6 there. And they've got to be a little bit disappointed, but nevertheless, they've got a sizable lead here with 10-10 left in the third quarter, 24-9 as they kick off. And this wind in preparation for Hurricane. A little bit closer to the ocean than most school sites, too, so that may play a factor in the role. But wonderful weather here, Marcus Benjamin. Great football atmosphere.
It's definitely a gorgeous day out here for football. The wind has helped going this way towards our goalpost here for the kickers. Let's see what Belen Jesuit can do here going the other way.
Quarterback Dorian Gonzalez is coming out leading his team. They're trying to be mistake-free. They give it back to Mr. Chaney, but number 13, Javon Only, is on the tackle. That was a nice play by Only sneaking through.
You go right back to your workhorse on the next play. Shows the trust that they have in the young man.
He's earned it. He's been a guy that's been in this Belen Jesuit program since he was in 8th grade. And a lot of people talk about, hey, man, why don't you transfer it to a bigger program? Why don't you get out there? And that's a nice pass downfield, but an even better interception.
Great play for the Raiders as they get their second turnover in this half.
Wow, I mean, it's one of those situations, 2 possessions, 2 turnovers. It's not how you want things to go. If you're a Wolverine fan, it's very quiet on this side of the field, the visiting side, where we're broadcasting from. We're actually posted in the softball press box because of the configuration of this very unique campus, which is something I actually favor. They make the most out of every piece of space they have. We're on the other side of the field. Quick pass out from Haggart to Lathan, some helmets flying, and this is still a physical rivalry matchup, Marcus Benjamin.
I definitely like the way that they spread out the defense there on that play, going 5 wide, giving the Raiders plenty of options for Haggart, and he makes the play with that.
There is a player down. It looks like the freshman Brown is on the field, Jalen Brown. Northwestern had 4 or 5 guys come off the field because of cramping, and you just got to really take care of your body, and it's a difficult thing to stay hydrated because, hey, you don't know how much you're actually needing to consume, but he's a freshman. He's very talented, made a lot of plays in this game, and he'll get back into this game, and it's good to see him walking off the field here. Doesn't look like he's too seriously injured. Coach Sims out taking care of that situation and making sure that the future of his program is doing well. They got a lot of young talent here at this Gulliver program, Marcus.
Yeah, they definitely do have some young guys and some veterans as well. I think the combination of both will bode well.
Miami Carroll City, you talk about the state champions, the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs. They play later on today, have a very tough matchup against Palmetto. Pace, U School, who went to the 3rd round. It's going to be tough. Haggart bubbles out to Amin Hassan, and you can forget about it. He did that against Coral Gables, and as soon as he got that ball, I said, boy, I now pronounce you very fast. Touchdown. Amin Hassan, this young man is absolutely electric. He's a baseball player, a football player, and he looked like he was absolutely shot out of a cannon.
Once again, you see the speed.
It was on the opposite side of the field, and Hassan just took it to the house. I now pronounce you very fast, young man.
That he is indeed. If Belen wants to stay in this game, they better make sure they know where Amin Hassan is. If he gets the ball in open field again, watch out.
Haggart having a wonderful game. 2nd touchdown pass. This is just an offense by Coach Eddie Alford. You got to think about this coach who's come to Gulliver his 2nd season here at the school. Prolific youth football career. Eddie Alford former Pop Warner national championship coach, won it 2 times, once at junior midget, once at the midget level. And for Coach Sims to bring Eddie Alford over and run his offense and give him weapons like Carson Haggart, Anton Hall, and even guys like Amin Hassan, it's almost criminal because this is a guy that absolutely knows how to coordinate offenses, and you're seeing it here to the tune of 31 points.
You definitely see that from the Gulliver Raiders in this game. They're giving you everything. They're giving you a solid run game, a solid passing game where they're kind of mixing up with short passes and long ones. The future is bright.
More place kicker kicks off here, and Belen's got to get something going. Ball is fielded. Gulliver defenders, and time's kind of running out even though it's early in the third quarter for Belen. They've had some positive things working, Marcus Benjamin. How do they get back to that?
Well, like we alluded to earlier in this game, they are not a team built to really kind of come back from big leads. So they are going to have to try to gash them with the running game with Chaney and hopefully hit them with some big plays with the play action pass.
Gonzalez under center, goes to the up man. He's got a lot of running room. Wow. Very good run. Hayden Puente, he's had a very solid game in his own right. Chaney's obviously the man, but he's been a nice running mate in the backfield for the Wolverines.
The Wolverines use the fullback. If you've watched this team over the years, they use the fullback almost as much as the halfback. And number 34 has been doing work here, as the Wolverines usually do.
Now, as we talked about with this offensive scheme, the more you can get other guys involved that are not Don Chaney Jr., the more this offense opens up. Here goes Chaney. He's the bread and butter. Fumbled earlier in this quarter. He's able to hang on to the football there, but not picking up very much.
I think you still have to keep going to your horse in Chaney. Keep giving him the rock. He is going to find a crease eventually and break a big one.
As you expect, the crowd a little bit on the tougher side. The student section for Gulliver yelling out overrated after Chaney. And then response, he's our 5-star from the Belen student section. Hey, man, they basically say, hey, you think he's overrated? He's our guy.
Gotta love the atmosphere here at Gulliver's home field. Both crowds chanting back and forth. It's really a great atmosphere here on this Friday afternoon. Gotta love what we see here in the Prep Bowl.
I'm in love with this Prep Bowl. I mean, if we can take a look around and kind of look at everything that's going on as we have a player down, we're going to ask our photographer, videographer, Chris Fode, to give us a picture of just everything that's around. It's kind of like a backyard atmosphere. Here. Good to see that young man walk himself off the field. But, I mean, it's a tremendous atmosphere here.
Definitely a family atmosphere. It's kind of like a family picnic or a family reunion with a football game going on.
Well, they haven't been treating each other like family on the field. Gulliver has been a very bad host to the tune of 31 points and just
football team, get them focused on the task of on the task of hand, which is winning the football game, and not let this game get out of control.
yeah, you definitely. In everything that they're trying to do. both of these programs, particularly Gulliver, trying to get back to their winning ways. This is a team that has gone to state championships in the past. As you say, one of the more storied football players who holds a tremendous legacy at every level of football, especially here in South Florida, Sean Taylor, was a Gulliver Raider. So this program has prestige. Don Chaney for Belen, they're still giving their horse the football. And as you said earlier, Marcus Benjamin, nothing he's done, especially in the way of turnovers, is going to prevent them from giving him the football.
Chaney gives you that combination of power and speed. And as you've seen in this game, they've given it to Chaney in efforts to get that corner. So I think that he still has a chance to catch that corner, and so do the coaches as they keep giving it to him.
They kind of need him to kind of rattle off a big run. He's kind of been chinking and chunking there for the last couple of series, but it's kind of getting late, and they're running out of time. This young man is really having himself a ball game. Hayden Puente. You talk about service academies on the other side that Amin Hassan and Anton Hall are committed to. Puente is a guy that probably deserves a look by one of those service academies that run these type of offenses. He can play ball.
Most definitely. He's a load to bring down, and he's been quite effective in this game.
That'll bring up a first down for Belen. The pitch is to Chaney. He sees a little bit of daylight, but not for long. Very sure tackle by the defensive end, Eddie Jackson, the young man that came down from Miami, Booker T. Washington, just before the start of this season, makes a big tackle there. Probably touchdown saving.
Absolutely, but the thing is with Belen Jesuit, they might want to pick up the pace here, because if they're going to continue to run the ball, they need to score quickly if they want to catch up in this
huddle
game.
is probably, and I know that's not something they're probably prone to, but you gotta pick up the pace if you're Belen. As they run the ball short here, up the middle. I'll bring up third down, and we got another young man hobbling on the ground. He looks like he's going to pop up. That's Wesley Neal. Humidity and cramping will be a factor, and as they always are here. These early afternoon games are kind of tricky. There's a lot more sun than usual. But this is why we love playing in South Florida. To give to Chaney again, can't get away from Mr. Donnell Harris. Harris has had quite a quiet game, but that was a very sure tackle.
Him on that play, if they want to prevent the Wolverines from getting on the scoreboard, they'll have to continue that.
Looks like the player's down. That appears to be Wesley Neal. Neal's a guy I really like in this Gulliver defense. He's been here all 4 years, was offered by the University of Miami. It's probably a wait and see with them, but he's a guy that you don't find very often. Those
big ones, athletic ones like Wesley Neal. I expect him to play on Saturdays very often. It's going to be a joy to see him kind of progress as an athlete.
This Gulliver defense only giving up one big run from Chaney, forcing a field goal, spotting Belen only 9 points up to this point. They're led by five-star Donnell Harris, but he's got a lot of help. You've got Lathan. You've got DeRosa, who's in the middle, who's an excellent middle linebacker in his own right, number 52. You've got the big man, number 50, Bakari Edwards, who had that big fumble recovery. Jackson, the aforementioned guy, the young freshman, Jalen Brown. Just a real solid defense, and as I say that, Don Chaney just finds his way through, and he gets close to the end zone, gets in for a score and a touchdown. But there is a flag on the play, Marcus.
That was a great run by Chaney. You knew eventually he was going to break one. Finally breaks over the line and gets some running room, gives them a little shake, and moves it to the outside for a big gainer for the Wolverines.
Personal foul is the call on the penalty. That's going to go against Gulliver, be assessed on the kickoff. And that's exactly what they needed to stay in this ball game, Marcus. Let's be honest. If they didn't score on that possession, this was probably going to be over.
Absolutely. That was a great drive by the Wolverines to get on the scoreboard, to give them a chance to win this game. Great job by Belen Jesuit.
The kick is up, and it's good. That'll bring the score to 31-16. Gulliver still leads, but Belen with a very positive drive. They attempted the extra point after the last score, attempted rather the onside kick. Marcus, do you think we'll see that again?
I doubt we'll see that again. That would be pretty risky to do that once again because you give up field possession. I expect them to kick it away here and play some defense.
Well, it's always an option, and it almost worked. So you have to try to find some sort of specialty play, especially when you make a lot of mistakes early in the football game and you start to figure things out and you're down by 15 points, which is basically 2 scores. Now you have a scenario where you can pin Gulliver deep because after the personal foul penalty, they're going to be kicking off from past half field.
I would try some kind of a pooch punt in this situation where if you kick it high and if your guys can run down there, you have a chance to recover.
Britton Rice kicking off, and that's going to go into the stands by the buses. Gulliver's going to go back to work here, and what's the strategy now? Still put your foot on the gas, or do you try to run this bad boy out and get out of here with the win?
Well, the running game has been working for the Raiders, so why not keep that going? And if you need to pass, you know your quarterback can make throws to make first down. So I would run the ball, try to chew up as much clock as I could, and then pass if needed.
Gulliver offense running back onto the field. Number 77, the big offensive lineman, Terrell Torrance. He's one of the new additions. He's playing left guard there in this offense. That passes out to Cedric Irvin Jr. is incomplete, but this Gulliver team picked up a lot of kids late, and that's what kind of took the fever pitch around this program and kind of tilted it towards north, adding so much talent. They already had so much that was already in place.
High school football, much like college football, where if you acquire enough players, you can have a good team to compete. And Gulliver is one of those teams that's excelling in that area.
Yeah, Matt Antanza at the right guard position. He's joined on the right-hand side by Francisco Calabrera. There's another play by Tavares Lathan, rather. But this has been a very capable Gulliver line. Justin Niero on the right, at the right tackle position. Mantanza at right guard. Number 75. Brandon Banyard, number 55 at the center. And we talked about Terrell Torrance. These guys have had an excellent game. And at that left tackle position, Eddie Cacon. I mean, this Gulliver offensive line, they don't get a ton of credit, but pretty formidable as far as this game has been concerned. They've given Carson enough time to throw the football. They've opened up lanes for Anton Hall. They've been sound in both the running and the pass defense, and they're doing it, let's think about, on some short weeks, short preparations. I mean, this game was supposed to be Saturday, and we are here on Media Day on Tuesday. They were practicing in the gym, so it's tough to be a South Florida football player as we see Cedric Irvin around the left-hand side. What a game he has. He's trying to make a claim for MVP honors right now. So we got some jostling between the number 2s on each side. It was Mr. Ulysses Sierra and Nathaniel Payne getting linked up there. Payne's had a quiet game on offense for Belen. That was one of the guys that you thought coming in was going to make an impact behind Chaney. It's actually been other guys who've been stepping up. Be nice to see him, if Belen gets the ball back here at any point, get in on the offensive action.
It would be definitely nice to see him get in on the offensive action, but what I'm learning from the Raiders is that they are pretty much loaded with playmakers here. They have basically, with Anton Hall and Cedric Irvin, they've been able to really run all over Belen, and this is without one of their playmakers, Yul Keith Brown.
Well, this is going to be a penalty against Belen, and they're going to back this up. It's a personal foul penalty, and this game, that's one of the storylines, Marcus Benjamin. It's been sort of a difficult game, but you expect that. On a week where there are a lot of missed practices in the gym, you know, none of these high schools have indoor facilities here. You know, when you can't get out and go through some of your sets and go through your offense, it's still very early in the season, only week 2 of this Prep Bowl matchup. It's to be expected that you see a lot of sort of undisciplined play, but personal foul is going to back Gulliver up here, and Haggart is going to give the ball off to Irvin, and why not? He's having a wonderful game, still on his feet, and wow. To get the call and say, hey, man, you're starting, he's come out and performed.
He's definitely performed at a high level. He almost gets the corner and takes that one to distance. You just see the speed with this kid. It's top level, top notch, and when he gets the ball, it's showtime.
Yeah, and kudos to him. His dad, Cedric Irvin Sr., was a pretty good running back at Michigan State under Nick Saban. You know, so he's got a few bloodlines, and it's not surprising that he's got some football talent, but I was at practice earlier this week. He was not as big a part of this game plan, but he's been a big part of this game and this success early on today. They give him the ball again, and it seems like they're content, Marcus Benjamin, to do what we had talked about, kind of run this thing, grind this thing on out. You're up by 15. No need to put the ball in the air, cause any problems. The savvy offensive coordinator getting the job done right now.
When you've had success running the football, why not? Keep running the football, chew up some clock, and get the W. And that looks like that is what is the Raiders' plan.
We shouted out the offensive line just a few minutes ago, but we got to talk about number 19, the tight end, Diego LaMonica. He was a young man that participated on the Football Hotbed Showcase platform. We're talking about the young man, number 19, the tight end. He's committed to Vanderbilt. He's not playing today. He's been nursing an injury all week long. But the reason I bring him up is you're having a ton of success in the run game, and you don't even have one of your Power 5 best players in Diego LaMonica, and that just speaks to how talented this offensive line is at Gulliver.
Love Diego LaMonica. He's one of the great players to watch on film. Spoke to him right before this game. He had an MCL sprain, but expects to be back next week.
Some great information by you, Marcus Benjamin, and want to thank you for all of your contributions on Football Hotbed. You can hear from Marcus Benjamin. He's our senior writer all throughout the season, ranking, writing, and giving us all the information we need. Haggart's pass is complete. Finds a wide open receiver in Gabriel Neely. And Neely He's been kind of quiet in this game. He's a big target, standing about 6'2", 6'3". But that's when you got it cooking on all cylinders, man, all kind of things start opening up for you on offense.
Gabriel Neely is a player that I thought would, have a big game. He has been quiet in this game. He is another one of the playmakers for the Raiders. So watch out for him this season.
2nd and 6 here for the Raiders. Well, it's going to be 2nd and long. First down, actually. It's Tamina Hassan. That's the same play he scored on last week. It's been scouted. He got away with it one time. They practiced it to the left side. They didn't practice it to the right, but they bottled him up there. Congratulations to number 21 from Belen, Sheen Labobin on the tackle. Forgive me if I mispronounced his name, but he goes on our all-name team, our football hotbed all-name team. They got some cool names at Belen, if nothing else. But that was a play they were obviously prepared for.
Yeah, obviously they've seen that all game, but they do seem to be getting a little bit tired of running around trying to chase down these receivers.
Well, your defense have been on the field pretty much all game, and that's a nice give back to Cedric Irvin. They're going to run him and move him left and right, and he's kind of getting the Keith Brown package, and he's doing really well.
Absolutely. Once Keith Brown comes back, watch out for the combination of these two.
Wow,
for the
can you
Gulliver
imagine
Raiders.
if he'd have played in this game? The score might be 50-16.
It very well could have been.
And Keith Brown, hopefully we'll see him on future football hotbed telecasts. He's truly a remarkable young man. As we mentioned, number 6, Keith Brown, is nursing an injury. He's out for this game, an injury to his right exterior. We talked to him earlier in the week after doctor's appointment. He was going to try to give it a go, but got the call right before this one that he wasn't going to be able to, as Hassan drops the football there on that bubble. They're still trying to get the ball to those key guys, Marcus Benjamin, but there were some extracurricular activities.
That there were, but those bubble screens and those passes out to the flat have been working, so why not keep going to those plays? The Raiders have been eating up chunk yards with those plays, so why not keep going with those?
And that's number 56, who's down for Belen, Pablo Carrera. And Pablo switched positions on me. I thought he was playing center today. He's at one of the guard positions, and that's the young man that went to Atlanta, and he was a part of our football hotbed showcase. And we have a football hotbed National High School Showcase every January during MLK weekend. And one of the reasons we have that showcase is to allow young men like Pablo and others, like Will Betridge, who went last year. We expect some others from this game, this Prep Bowl game, to be there this year. You get a chance to get some additional film, which is necessary, and we might miss a game here next week, next Friday in South Florida, or the state of Florida in general, just because of weather. So you get additional huddle film, Marcus. You play against great talent. More importantly, you get out to those colleges. Last year we went to Clemson, Georgia, and Georgia Tech. And you get a chance to put your name out there, interact with college coaches. It's just a good all-around showcase event.
It's definitely a great event that Football Hotbed puts on. Definitely some players in this game that I've seen that deserved to play in that game and to earn some scholarships with improving their stock with huddle tape. So the showcase that Hotbed puts on, definitely one of the premier events of the year and in the country.
We got some extended minutes here, and I think we're dealing with a cramping situation. We saw this a lot last night. It can't explain what it's like. It's hot in our broadcast booth, and we've got a canopy over us, and we're shielded from the sun, but it's very, very difficult to be out here. And that is number 99, Brandon Deeb, the defensive tackle, the junior. It's kind of good to see him walking off. It looks like he's got an injury to his right leg, and we don't want to get into specifics, but it looks to be more than cramping. This is a difficult, hard-nosed football game, Marcus Benjamin.
Yeah, it's definitely been a hard-fought game. A lot of bodies being taken off the field due to injuries and cramps. But these are two teams that want to win, and it's a rivalry game, and you're going to get those type of situations happening in a game like this.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. A lot of pushing and shoving on after the play, even late in this game where one more score will probably determine the outcome. Key drive for Belen. They got to get a stop right here. Haggart going deep. The pass is complete to number 2. That's Ulysses Sierra. Touchdown, Gulliver. And how about Carson Haggart, the sophomore? My goodness, that kid is good.
Haggart has kind of caught fire here in the second half. Beautiful ball by Haggart to number 2, Ulysses Sierra. What a great ball. What a nice touchdown. The Raiders are rolling here on their home field.
Just a great performance, and that's why they got a lot of positive feeling down here in Pinecrest because of that young man. He's got 2 more years in addition to the rest of this season.
I was shocked to see that 10 number next to his name as far as his grade, so I was surprised to see that. He has a great future ahead of him.
Let's talk about this young man. You talk about a young man in Carson Haggart. He's a very savvy guy. He comes from the Sunnyland program in youth football. He played at a very high level for that Sunnyland program. His father, Mike Haggart, was the head coach. They have a lot of kids on this Gulliver team, and they were one of the best teams in South Florida coming out of youth football. So he comes into high school football as one of the more experienced quarterbacks here. Then go to this past offseason, and you get even to the football hotbed 7-on-7 season opener. He brings his team to the finals. They came up just a little bit short, but Keith Brown was the 15U MVP. He had a tremendous 7-on-7 offseason, and it was one of those scenarios where we knew he was poised to absolutely have a dominant sophomore season, and he's showing that he's on the way to that right now.
I'm glad you brought up the 7-on-7 because that's when I first saw this kid. He really shows the poise in the pocket, goes through his reads, makes strong throws, and just makes good decisions for the most part, and he is just going to grow to an even better quarterback in the years to come.
Well, 38-16 here at the start of the fourth quarter for Gulliver, and they are absolutely rolling. Belen is returning this football, and there is some space. Somebody's going to have to make a tackle, and tackle is finally made. And this Gulliver Raider team has just been clicking on all cylinders as we welcome their athletic director, Mr. Ira Childress, into the broadcast booth. We're going to give him a chance to collect himself because we're up about 2 stories here. Not going to call him out, but we want to appreciate him and the entire Gulliver administration for their hospitality. Just a tremendous Prep Bowl atmosphere for the first annual. And Marcus, Gulliver has been up to the task up so far.
Absolutely. Gulliver has looked dominant in this game. They've done it on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. Gulliver has a bright future this season and for the future of this season.
Good to see Jalen Brown coming back into the game. Antonio Smith, number 26, who's made a lot of plays. They defensively standing up strong, bringing up a second down and long here for Belen. 11:19 to go in the fourth quarter here as this game draws to a close. 38-16 lead for Gulliver. They continue to try to get something going at Belen. It's not going to happen. If the defensive line has anything to say about it, that looks like Mr. Lathan, number 4. He's kind of been all over the place.
That he has. He's been all over the place as far as defensively and offensively. And if you're Belen, you just kind of want to get something positive going here on this drive.
Yeah, I want to get positive momentum. And as we talk about a program like Gulliver, it's important to come out, put away, seemingly, we still got a lot of time. It's not over until it's over. But put away a rivalry team that's only 20 minutes away, but also from sort of the same brand of football in school. combo that you have, as the give is to number 3, Francisco Aguirre for Belen. It's important in comparison of schools because kids do have choices where they go to school and where they play football.
Absolutely, and Don Chaney Jr. is one of those players that stuck with the program. You got to give him credit for sticking with the program. He probably could have gone to any school in South Florida, maybe even in the state. So it's important to kind of see that because loyalty is something that is kind of lost these days. So it's really great to kind of see a player of that caliber stick with his team for as many years as he did.
Talk about sticking with programs. What about guys like Amin Hassan and Anton Hall, who start at Gulliver as middle school players? DeRosa, other guys that come over as freshmen and go all the way through the program. Now you have other guys like Carson Haggart and young guys like Jalen Brown who, hey, Coach Ira Childress told me about him earlier. I was like, come on, a freshman, that's one of your keys to the program is we got a man out on the field. We want to bring in the athletic director. And, you know, it was a scenario where you told me about that young man, and he ended up being exactly as advertised.
Yeah, Jalen's a great player. We have a lot of great student athletes here, and I'm just proud of the student athletes for competing hard here today. But the thing is, there's a lot of game left. We just want to keep playing hard and in between the lines.
Absolutely, and one thing that's impressed me is this atmosphere. This is a rivalry game, and it's been a great atmosphere with both student sections. What kind of gives its way to this kind of family atmosphere in this competitive environment that we have this afternoon?
I'm proud of our student body here at Gulliver. They came out in groves today, and that's very, very important for the student athletes on the field to see their students and their peers cheering them on. And our parents are here as well, fans, other people. We have a packed place here today, and that's a tribute to all the hard work of our student athletes on the field.
Tribute to all the hard work that you put in also as the director of this program. And Belen is going to punt here, and it'll be fielded by Amin Hassan, who calls for a fair catch. And just talk about the senior class. You talk about Hassan, Hall, all these guys, Diego LaMonaco. These guys have been sort of the bedrock of this program. Wesley Neal, DeRosa. We talked about a lot of these guys. What does it mean for a player, especially now in this environment, to stay at a school all 4 years?
We have a special senior class, as you mentioned. They've been here, some of them more than 4 years when you go back to middle school. So it's great to see them sticking together, and they're the leaders of our football program. Our senior class is the leaders of our football program. So what you see on the field is a tribute to the great work that they're putting in and day out.
Well, it's showing, and this is an impressive offensive display. And defensively, this has been a very solid game for the Raiders. And, I mean, you called it. All of the guys that you thought would be key contributors in this game, but talk about your head coach. I mean, Coach Sims is just, he had his team ready to play. It's tough, especially when you have rain-shortened weeks where you kind of can't get on the practice field. As you see Hall, rush for several yards there before he's brought down, to keep your team focused, to keep them in condition and be ready to come out here after all the back and forth with this game. It's supposed to be tomorrow at 7:30, got moved up because of the hurricane. Just talk about the leadership there, the head man.
Coach Sims, I believe, is one of the best coaches in South Florida, one of the best coaches in the state of Florida. But, one thing about Coach Sims, he's a better person than he is coach. So, and I just told you he's one of the best coaches in South Florida. So if I'm saying he's a better person, that should say everything about Coach Sims. He does a great job. He's been doing it for a long time, and I'm proud of him and his whole coaching staff.
Yeah, well, this is an incredible coaching staff. We talked about Eddie Alford at the offensive coordinator position. You talked about Coach Lourdes as the defense. They got some great assistant coaches as well as Haggart. Waggles out, and man, this kid is electric. And what a play again by Jalen Brown. The turf monster kind of grabs him. But this kid, I mean, he's the real deal. You called it. I can't take any credit. You were the one who called it. What gave you the early impression that this kid was going to be so good?
Well, he's been good all camp. He came in with obviously a big reputation, but then you want to see it on the field, and he's done it on the field. He's a guy that runs a 10-800 in the 100 meters, so he's got great speed, but he's a humble kid. He's always practicing and working hard, and to me, that's the name of the game.
Well, he's standing about 6 foot tall as a freshman. You run a 10-800. Marcus Benjamin, that's pretty impressive.
It's definitely impressive. The fact that he's a freshman means he's got tremendous upside. I can't wait to really see this player just develop over these years. Credit to your programs.
He's kind of a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. I know he was at the Palmetto Raiders with Coach Knight on that midget team over there, but he's definitely somebody to watch. You got a lot of young talent here as we see a flag on the play, but who are some other guys that we may not know yet? Let's talk about, Cedric Irvin Jr. Here's a guy that's stepping up for Keith Brown. Good grief, he's had a ball game.
Yeah, Cedric Irvin is a great competitor. He's a freshman. Obviously, everyone knows his dad. He was a great player in Miami and also a great player at Michigan State, back in my neck of the woods. So I'm very familiar with his dad.
Yeah, you are from the Detroit area. And welcome to South Florida, by the way. You've been here a couple of months now, and congratulations to you on this job. But, man, for him to be ready to play.
Yeah, he's been great, and that's what we expect him to be ready to play, and he's been great. So with that being said, I'm going to get off the camera here. I don't want to take up any of the camera time. I just came up to talk to you and congratulate you guys on all the hard work and everything you've been doing, because football hotbed is known around the state now, and people are really talking about, the great things that you guys are doing. Not only, you do great work on the camera, you do great work on social media, but you're really helping programs and helping kids, and to me, that's what it's all about. So kudos to you and your whole staff. You guys are doing an excellent job.
Well, we really appreciate it, and that's why we exist as a showcase platform, trying to get these guys who have good games and great talent a platform to be known. Carson Haggart, the pass is out to Neely, and Neely gets a few yards there. Want to thank you so much, Mr. Childress, for being on there with us. We appreciate, and you're welcome back anytime.
Trophy presentation coming up, right?
Absolutely. So it looks pretty good with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. 38-16. And we want all those young men to come over here to this east end zone. Yes, close to our cameras so we can, if you can hang on. And I don't know, I don't want to be too presumptuous, but I think it's going to be a pretty safe bet here as long as they don't make too many mistakes down the stretch. And just, like the AD was saying, Marcus, this program has been built on guys being loyal and staying put. You talk about Don Chaney at Belen, and hats off to him, but Gulliver's had their fair share of guys who've done the exact same thing.
Absolutely. Gulliver, they've got a program. They have an historic program here in South Florida, and there's a reason to come here and be successful, and that's what these kids have bought into.
I tell you, it's not a hard sales pitch. First thing I do, I walk on campus, I go through the security gates, I start looking around at this outdoor campus, looking into the classrooms and all of the technology and all of the whiteboards, and everybody has a laptop or an iPad, and good grief, if I were ever offered the opportunity to go back to high school, I'd probably have to turn it down. But if they gave me an opportunity to come to Gulliver Prep, oh man, I don't know if I could turn that down. I heard there's a buffet at lunch where it's all you can eat.
I saw that buffet.
You saw that?
Oh
my goodness.
It was amazing.
Oh man, Hall hit pretty hard, but credit him. He's able to grab that potentially dangerous and damage-causing fumble back, and the air's been kind of let out of the balloon here on the Belen Jesuit side. They played a fairly solid game, but if you want to break this game down, and it's winding to a close, it's all those penalties in the first quarter of this game that really got things off to a kind of a bad start.
Well, Belen was kind of behind the 8 ball, so they would have to play a near-perfect game to come out with a victory here. And then the penalties really set them back, and they just didn't have enough to overcome the Raider offense in the first and second half, as we see another touchdown.
Wow. Hey, listen. Carson Haggart, again, this young man, and this time to Lathan, listen, he's had a tremendous ball game, and there was some doubt about MVP up until about that touchdown pass. Amin Hassan made his push, but the sophomore, man, he's just pushing for this. He says, man, this is my breakout game. I got to show everybody what I'm all about.
This is definitely his breakout game. I would totally agree with that. People will know who the quarterback of the Gulliver Raiders is for this season and for seasons to come. Haggart made a name for himself today.
You talk about this is a kid who backed up the starter on varsity last year, his first full year at the reins of this program, and he's had the opportunity to come out here and play against an 8A football program. This is not a sham of a program in Belen, and this is his second straight seemingly victory. I don't want to be too presumptuous at 45-16, but I mean, he did it against Coral Gables last week, and he takes care of another 8A foe this week in Belen Jesuit.
That's why I didn't hesitate to put this team in my top 25. I have them at the number 24 team in the state just because they are so balanced as far as offensively and defensively, and now you see the quarterback play can take them to new heights.
Well, you got to have a quarterback. You can have all of the guys on the perimeter, the Amin Hassans, the Anton Halls, the Lathams, the Neelys. If you don't have a guy that can trigger that football, you're in a whole lot of trouble, but they're in good hands here with Haggart. Carson, that is. They call him Carson City here in Pinecrest. I like that. But we ain't in Nevada. We are in South Florida, the hotbed of football. And you're watching Football Hotbed's special presentation of the Press Bowl as Will Bettridge puts that ball into the end zone, kicking against the wind. And this has just been a dominant offensive performance by the Gulliver Raider program.
Gulliver's definitely making a name for themselves in 4A. We did talk about 4A earlier in the broadcast, how it's basically a stacked class when it comes to Florida teams that will compete for the state championship. And Gulliver is one of those teams that is definitely in the mix, and they are putting their swagger on performance.
Absolutely.
On display.
Just got a
today.
text from Tony Ballard, Carson Haggart's quarterback coach. He said, Carson is balling. I said, yeah, coach. He truly is. And Tony Ballard's a tremendous quarterback coach in his own right. And his pupil is getting it done here in South Florida on this afternoon. And you kind of like this if you're Gulliver, because now with such a formidable lead, you get a chance to play a lot of young guys. You look at the girth on the field, it's a little less. You got some smaller guys coming in. That's indicative of the fact that they're playing freshmen and sophomores, and that's good for this program because you don't have a junior varsity program. Only 45 roster kids on varsity get an opportunity for young guys to get some playing time.
You definitely want to build for the future with a team like this. You got some senior guys that will not be here next season, so this is a great opportunity for Gulliver to get some work in here in the latter part of the game.
Hey, don't cry for Gulliver, though. How about Cedric Irvin Jr., Carson, Haggart, guys like Jalen Brown? They seem to be pretty well stacked for the future, and it looks really bright here in the Pinecrest area of Miami. And don't forget, we talked about Bakari Edwards. He's an offensive, defensive lineman. He's only a sophomore. Got a lot of young talent on his football team.
Absolutely. They have talent at every position here at Gulliver. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. Can't wait to see what they do.
Well, let's break this down in the time we have remaining. Let's talk about 4A in the state of Florida. Let's talk about South Florida particularly. You got to talk about the big dogs. They were just a fumble away from the state championship in University School, led by Nick Vadiato and Brandon Ennis. Coach Luque's team, where do they fit into your 4A rankings?
I'm not sure exactly where they are in the rankings, but I know they're in the teens somewhere, the upper teens. U School is a great team, led by Nick Vadiato. They are destroying teams in the first couple weeks. They are a definite contender for that 4A title, and they have something to prove being eliminated in the last 2 years.
Some extracurricular activity there, some personal foul-like activity as Donnell Harris gets kind of bungled up with Dorian Gonzalez. And this is one of those situations where it can get kind of chippy. I don't know. I like to take my stars out of games like this. And, you know, Donnell Harris has probably done enough. And he was the recipient of a big block there. And he didn't take kindly to it as
looks like he's coming out of the game now.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to come out. They've probably seen enough. But let's talk about 4A. Talk about University School. Can't forget about Cardinal Gibbons. They've started the season on kind of a tough note in 4A as they played a pretty good foe in Miami Northwestern. But it's a scenario where they have to be given some consideration for being a team that's going to be there at the end.
Absolutely. You can't count Cardinal Gibbons out. They're the defending 5A state champions, now in a new class. Their offense of the air raid is going to be rolling once again this season. The question is, does the defense have enough to take them to the state title?
And that is a big question. The defense of Cardinal Gibbons is definitely going to be the story. And it's going to be a scenario where if they can find answers on the defense, and I think associate head coach and defensive coordinator Dave Montiel is going to be able to put something together, as you see another run here by Belen. And this is, kind of getting chippy. You got to be in a scenario here if you're Gulliver. Hey, maybe your guys have played enough football. But back to this, if Cardinal Gibbons can figure out how to get enough defense going, they're going to be pretty good on the offensive side of the ball with Brody Pelhage. They're going to be,
Troy Stellato at receiver.
They're very experienced. I mean, let's be honest. They've got a lot of talent, but they're going to be challenged. And then you talk about this Gulliver team, and we talked a lot about them all broadcast. You got to think about pace, and don't forget about Booker T. Washington. Somebody's texting me while I'm on the air saying, hey, Brandon, be sure to mention, hey, F5 is still alive.
Yeah, let's not forget about Booker T. Washington. They have a big game tonight against Miami Central. Not a team that's not in their class, but it's definitely a rival. We'll be able to gauge how good Booker T is. They lost their coach, longtime coach, Tim Ice Harris, to now Florida Memorial. Do they have enough to win a state title this year?
Yeah, listen, 4A is now the new 6A. 6A was completely destroyed by the realignment in the offseason by the FHSA. I like it, but I don't like it. I like it because now Miami Northwestern, Carroll City, and also Miami Central all have the chance to win the state championships and don't have to beat each other to a pulp to do it. But as you see the handoff along the left-hand side, that's going to come back as number 3, Francisco Aguirre, gets into the end zone. There's going to be a hold on that play. The reality of the situation is, in so doing, they broke up what we used to call the SEC, 16-6A, District 16-6A.
4A is definitely, you could say that it is the new SEC. 7A definitely, it has a bunch of great teams as well. But once it comes playoff time, the first and second rounds are probably going to be the most interesting in 4A with the teams that we have in this class.
Absolutely, and so I'm excited to see what 4A shakes out. And don't forget about the top of the state. There's some contenders up north, and you still got to worry about teams like Cocoa and other teams who've been in 4A. Reigns, of course, the defending champion, is kind of moving on up to the 5A ranks, and they're going to be waiting for American Heritage or Miami Northwestern or whoever comes out of the South.
Cocoa is definitely a team that you do want to keep your eye on. They are actually in Georgia today to take on Alabama Power Hoover. So
that's a
really,
big game for them.
Really interested to see what they'll do there. They're another team that has a chip on their shoulder, looking to come back and right their wrongs from seasons past.
Absolutely, but let's give some of these freshmen a shout out here for Gulliver as they're playing defensively. And the pass is going to go up. And just as we talk about some of these freshmen, a big interception there for number 22. And he's still on his feet. That's Kamar Meza, the freshman linebacker. And they're going absolutely crazy because that's what this is all about. You get up by enough scores and you give younger members of your football team the opportunity to make big plays.
Just more evidence of just how loaded this Raider squad is. Even at defensive back, you have players that are making plays in this game. You're going to need players at every level if you want to get to that state title game in Daytona.
Well, you know, what hasn't Gulliver done right today? Beside that one sort of area in this game where they kind of let penalties stack up on them, a little bit of undisciplined play, to be expected in a rivalry game. I'm sure Coach Sims won't take a liking to that, and there will be repercussions, but Gulliver played a pretty sound football game here.
They definitely played a sound football game. They had some penalties, some extracurricular activities, got out of hand a little bit, but I'm sure they'll be able to clean that up in future weeks. But overall, a very balanced football team, and Carson City is the place to be.
Carson City. Carson Haggart getting the job done, and he just had an incredible game. But, I mean, I just looked at his offseason preparation. I just don't think a lot of people understand. You don't just come into a season like this and start having all of this success. This young man traveled all over the country as far as Nevada and participated right here on our football hotbed platform in our 7-on-7. Hopefully he'll be there again on February 1st for the season opening 7-on-7 tournament here. But, I mean, the guy was just prepared and ready, and he got a stage and he shined out.
You saw the talent from this kid in the offseason. Works on his craft, has great feet, has a great arm, and makes great decisions. He's only going to get better, and the future is extremely bright for Gulliver.
It's extremely bright, not only for Carson, but also because of young kids. And you saw Mesa make that interception there. We talked about Brown, who's already in the starting rotation as a true freshman. But, you know, younger guys like Brandon Banya, who's a sophomore. He was in the football hotbed middle school All-American game. Lots of hotbed attendees here. Hall, Hassan, and LaMonaco were at our showcase camp at the University of Miami. I mean, these guys have really been kind of putting this young nucleus together. And this is so difficult, Marcus, nowadays because kids just transfer all over the place. And sometimes it ends up hurting their careers, but these guys have all stayed, and it may pay off big for them, even to the tune of a state championship.
It may indeed pay off for them in that respect. But not only are they able to keep guys, but other guys are starting to come over
that's
to
what's
Gulliver
impressive
as well. So this is a program that kids want to come to. So the future will continue to strive in an upward direction for the Raiders.
Jalen Sloan, the senior, getting a chance to get a carry there. And so we wanted to make sure we get him some recognition. Pretty nice pickup there for him. The backup quarterback is in for Gulliver, number 15, Austin Bierman, and he is a junior. This is a young man that is probably happy to be seeing some playing time, but you can do that when you have such an effective outing by your starter.
Great to see some work by the young man, and he rolls out here and gets some yardage.
Wow, he's got some room. He gets out of bounds. He didn't want too much to do with that defender on the way out of bounds. We got about 33 seconds here. Marcus Benjamin, we're going to give you the opportunity to name the football hotbed MVP, the player of the game of the first annual Prep Bowl. Go ahead, Marcus.
I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, we kind of alluded to it throughout the entire telecast, but sophomore quarterback, Carson Haggart is today's MVP. We calling him Carson City, and he takes home the hardware in today's Prep Bowl.
Hey, listen, this is a tremendous effort by Carson, but just a team effort by this Gulliver program. And if you're not here watching, this is a fairly big program as far as athletes are concerned. Everybody on the line, for the most part, is 6 foot or above, and that's pretty big for an offensive line. Skilled players have size and girth, and you got a lot of speed in Hall and Hassan, and Yuki Brown didn't even play because of injury, and LaMonica. That's the scary part.
As well.
How good could this team really be? I mean, good grief. Yeah, two of your best players, Power 5 guys, didn't even play.
Didn't dress. So, sky's the limit for the Gulliver Raiders.
Well, sky's the limit, and that's the limit on this football game. As the clock winds down, the Gulliver Raiders are going to be the 45-16 winners of the first annual Prep Bowl presented by FootballHotbed.com. And what an amazing game it was. So stay tuned for the trophy presentation directly after these two teams shake hands. And Marcus, it was a whale of a ball game. What are your takeaways?
Well, great game by both teams. Both teams play hard in this Prep Bowl, but penalties. You got to eliminate the mistakes if you're Belen Jesuit, if you want to beat a team like Gulliver, and Gulliver balanced on both sides of the ball and will be a contender in 4A.
You talk about touchdowns by Neely, Anton Hall, Amin Hassan. Hey, you just talk about a full offensive effort, and defensively, led by Donnell Harris and Wesley Neal on that defensive line, they shut Chaney down. They said earlier in the week we weren't going to give him 200 yards, but they held him to under 100 yards today, and that's got to be congratulated, along with their senior linebacker, DeRosa. And this is just a program, Marcus, as you go on in the playoff structure. It's early, but you got to keep your eye on Gulliver.
Definitely keep your eye on Gulliver. In back-to-back weeks, Don Chaney has been shut down, and in the week before, it was Columbus. Columbus we have as a top 5 team. So it gives you an idea of how great Gulliver is and projected to be.
All right, we're going to go down for the trophy presentation. We're going to take a break here and talk to these Gulliver Raiders.
the lightning. Yo, bro, that's the lightning running?
Yes.
Wow.
Right on time.
Damn, it smells like football.
Congratulations, Coach. I want to congratulate you. The first annual Football Hotbed Prep Bowl. You guys came out as champions. To you and the whole Gulliver Raider program. Listen, Coach, I know you got to get the guys in. The reality is, just an excellent effort by your guys. Starting off at the very beginning, first drive. What did you have your guys ready to do early on in this ball game? Talk about playing Gulliver football, dominant on the first two offensive drives. Kind of had a drive where Belen was kind of again refocused, come back, shut them down. They got something going with Chaney, but he didn't even get over 100 yards in this game. But then you get 40 plus points, and then more importantly, get a chance for your guys, your younger guys, to get some playing time. How important is that? We're all one team. Everybody puts the same amount of work in, day in, day in. Get out there, play you guys, and it's all about us getting better. At the end of the year, making sure that we make different adjustments. It's a rivalry that has existed in the past, and we just want to make sure that we look at we're part of it. We still want to make sure we represent the team. Talk about your sophomore quarterback, Carson Haggart. He just had a whale of a ball game. I mean, he was all over the place. He's our game MVP for just the game that he had. I tell you, man, he's well beyond his years. He's played tough. He's got good head on his shoulders. He said something to the team yesterday to make sure that you guys are focused. So what just he and I think the whole team has to play that in addition to Carson, Amin Hassan had a whale of a ball game. 2 receptions, took off absolutely like he did last week on that bubble screen play. They looked to be ready for it on the left side. They weren't ready for it on the right. Every time that he touches the ball, he has a chance to score. Coach, I know we got to get off the field for some off-the-field concerns with our weather, but congratulations to you. Big-time winners, first annual Football Hotbed Prep Bowl. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Football Hotbed, too. Appreciate it.
All right. It's a Hotbed World. And congratulations to you, Carson. We're going to get you out of here, but want to get you some recognition as the MVP. How did you feel about this football game?
I thought we played very well. I want to give a big credit to my O-line and my receivers because I'm nothing without them. My O-line played great, protected me very well. Receivers made some great plays, and they just balled out, and I knew like they could.
Got a text from your quarterback coach, Tony Belen. He said, hey, man, Carson is balling out of control. So give a shout-out to your coach.
Coach Ballard is the best coach I've ever had, and I think the best coach in the nation. He's made me who the quarterback am today, and I just want to say thank you, Coach.
All right, congratulations. Get in the locker room. We don't want to keep those guys for too much longer. It's been a wonderful day here in Pinecrest, Florida. The first annual Football Hotbed Prep Bowl live at Gulliver Football Stadium, Sean Taylor Memorial Football Stadium. I'm Brandon O'Doy. For all of us at Football Hotbed, the nation's largest platform for high school football, we are signing off from Miami, Florida. It's a Hotbed World. We'll see you real soon.
Yeah, I know, man.